Hello, I want to welcome everybody back to my show, the Mechanics of Money. This is episode 14. We're starting to accelerate now. We're getting more podcasts out. I'm starting to use AI a lot more efficiently, and we're answering some of the demands. We're starting to get a lot more positive responses with our podcast. So I'm getting more episodes out. I'm putting shorts out and everything. Um, this episode we're talking about Rufus versus Microsoft, which is a classic. It's a classic David versus Goliath situation, right? What we have is one file, one man, 2 million downloads. Um, you have one developer, 1.9 megabyte file, and a $1 trillion corporation. Microsoft has tried to stop it multiple times, yet Rufus is still standing, and let's talk about why. Okay, first of all, we want to talk about the effect this thumb drive program, this small, minuscule program, has had on Microsoft, right? So let's just talk about the effects, and then next we're going to talk about what it does, right? So let's kind of talk about scope now, right? So what exactly does Rufus do and does to make Microsoft uncomfortable? Let's talk about that, right? So first of all, Rufus is only 1.9 megabytes, where Windows 11 is roughly 6 gigabytes, right? So that in itself is a large difference, right? Rufus is about 3,000 times smaller, and since 2011, it's been downloaded over 200 million times, nearly 3 million downloads every month. That's how often this program is downloaded. Okay, and they have more users than the population of Brazil. So this is not a niche software we're talking about. We're talking about a software that is becoming more and more popular, right? Okay, first we talked about scope. We talked about scope with Rufus. So let's talk about perspective, right? To understand the controversy, we need to understand Microsoft's hardware requirements, right? So let's talk about that. So what does Rufus do? So Rufus bypasses TPM 2.0 requirements that makes Microsoft hardware restrictions optional, allows local account setups, and it eliminates mandatory Microsoft account creations. It disables, which is really important, it disables BitLocker activation. So if anybody's familiar with BitLocker, they know how frustrating it can be to deal with BitLocker. So it disables silent BitLocker activation and downloads ISO directly, and avoids Microsoft media creation tool built by one developer. And this has all been built by one developer, Pete Batard. That's his name. Now, he's not a corporation. He's not a venture capitalist, and he has no paid team, right? This guy is just a one person, right? This guy is a virtual David against Goliath. So you say to yourself, well, Dyron, what does this all mean, right? We still don't understand, right? So let's put the situation in perspective, right? Let's go back in time, right? Let's step into our time machine and see where the controversy started. So in 2021, Microsoft required TPM 2.0 for Windows 11. Many 2018 machines lack the compatibility with hardware. So this is key. Listen to this. Zoom in on this. Estimates suggest that 240 or 400 million systems were affected. Most of these computers still worked perfectly, but Microsoft effectively declared them obsolete, and users were told they had to buy new hardware. So this is where Rufus came in, right? Rufus came in and offered them another option. 4 clicks and the restrictions became optional. And that's what happened. Basically, the restrictions went away. He was able, with Rufus, this programmer was able to come in with Rufus and bypass what Microsoft created, the problem that Microsoft created. Because basically Microsoft functionally told 240 million users or 400 million users that they had to buy new hardware or new computers, right? Can you imagine that? They had to go through something like that when all you needed was a thumb drive that was 1.6 megabytes to solve the problem in 4 clicks, and then you didn't have to buy a new computer. Then came the statement that shocked the tech world, right? Microsoft basically declared war against Peter Butard and Rufus. And this is basically a battle that's been going back and forth between Peter Butard and Rufus and Microsoft. Everything started. Round one was in 2022, where Microsoft changed the download APIs to throw Rufus off. Rufus found a workaround, right? In 2024, Microsoft blocked major bypass methods. Rufus patched it within days. And then in 2026, Microsoft blocked another download mechanism to stop Rufus from working, so people would have to buy new computers, right? And ultimately, Rufus adapted again, and Microsoft must stop every bypass. Rufus only needs one successful workaround, and that is asymmetry. So what you're seeing is a battle between Rufus and Peter Butard, which is one person, and Microsoft, which is a corporate juggernaut, a corporate tech juggernaut, where they're trying to stop him from bypassing these patches that they're putting in to force people to have to buy new hardware, right? So it's really Peter Butard and Rufus is the unsung hero, right? That they're representing the least amongst us right now. So it's quite interesting. So why can't Microsoft simply eliminate the project, right? Why can't they stop Rufus? One of the problems is that this programmer is good, right? Peter Butard is good, and he's able to create patches or workarounds, right? Because all he needs is one fix. He just needs to find one opening that Microsoft has overlooked to allow the computer to work, even though they put these patches in, right? So in 2026 on GitHub, February 2026, Peter Butard put this message out. He said, "I'm pretty sure Microsoft paid one of their employees to figure out a way to break the FIDO downloads explicitly and then implemented that on their servers. And this particular instance, that caused a lot of difficulty for him, but he was still able to develop a workaround." So again, this is an ongoing battle. $1 million corporation says nothing. It keeps working. The program keeps working. So my hat goes off to Peter Butard and his efforts to allow us to be able to still use our computers. Now let's discuss money, right? Let's talk about Rufus is open source, right? So it's highly code based. So it's no really large capital expenditure going on with Rufus. The entire code base is public. It is used. They use the GNU and GPL license. Anyone can inspect the code and anyone can improve it. So it's a public code that anybody can contribute to, and anyone can fork the project. Microsoft owns no intellectual property within Rufus, and the project is mirrored worldwide, and the community never sleeps. Open source creates resilience. Now we want to discuss some things, right? We want to discuss how sometimes manufacturing works, right? There's a word for what's going on here, and it's called, the word is, some people are not familiar with it. Some parts do not fail because of design, because they just no longer work. there's a word for it. It's called design obsolescence, right? And if you look it up, that's what it means. It means that they are designed to fail over a particular period of time. And in essence, that's what we're seeing here. We're seeing a very egregious example of design obsolescence where we have to look at who benefits. Who benefits from Microsoft putting these patches and these mandates in where 240 or 400 million consumers are left stranded, right? Left in the lurch, where they have to ultimately buy new hardware because their systems are deemed, right, quote unquote, deemed functionally obsolescent, designed obsolete. So this is quite interesting, and who benefits is the people that sell the hardware. Okay, let's tie everything up in a bow. Rufus was launched in 2011. It's been around continuously for 15 years. It has more than, as I mentioned, 200 million downloads. Users have never been charged, no subscription, no licensing fees, no corporate backing, no large development teams, and just a commitment for software freedom. And every challenge was met with another solution. And that is persistence, and persistence matters in this particular case, where uh, Peter Peter Batard stood behind his software and has helped consumers fight off Microsoft in this effort to for a design obsolescence, which is huge. So now we have the 400 million decision, right? We have 1.9 megabyte program that allows people to bypass a patch that Microsoft has designed. So, which is huge, power is not always capital. Sometimes it's code. So, I'm definitely encouraged to hear that and waiting to hear. We need to watch this battle between Rufus and Microsoft closely. How will this end? Who will win? Right? Who will win in the end? Right? You always want to cheer for the underdog. So we'll see. Okay, now it's time for final thoughts. My name is Dyron Bush again. This is the Mechanics of Money. This is episode 14. The name of my firm is Theogony Financial LLC. We do tax preparation, tax planning, and bookkeeping. My podcast is designed to go over the economy, things that go on in corporate America. We talk about different things, whether it be tech, taxes, financials. So we try to cover the whole gamut, things that might interest people. So as always, I have a quote. I always have a quote at the end. Microsoft had the empire. Rufus had the slingshot. 200 million downloads later, we're still talking about the slingshot. Okay? So you have a nice day. I want to thank all the followers. Please subscribe, like my video if you like it. If you have any comments, please leave a comment or share. Okay? Have a nice day.